What's going on, everyone? Hope you're all doing well. So in this video we are going to go over 15 important Excel functions that you should know how to use, okay, especially if you use Excel. Okay, these functions are very important and they can go a long way to help you in your work with Excel. Okay, so the first one here is sum. Everyone here should be familiar with the sum function. So we also have the average, max, all of this. Okay, then we also have the if function. Okay, and then I will also show you guys how to use the nested ifs. Okay, we also have the sum if, the count if. Right, I'll show you guys how to use two of them. And then we have the trim function, the concatenate, date, drop down list. All right, the drop down list feature of Excel. All right, and then we have the VLOOKUP and then the match. Okay, for this video I'm just going to show you guys how to use them. I'm not going to go deep into them like that. All right, so because this, especially these lookup functions, I will record a separate video for them and then explain them properly, okay, and explain them in depth, okay. But here I'll show you how they work and how you can use them in Excel. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. Here we have the sum function. You should be familiar with the sum function if you use Excel. Okay, so the sum function is the function you use if you want to sum up a particular range of numbers. All right, let's say for example you want to get the sum of this range of numbers. You just go ahead and type equal to in Excel. You want to type in a formula or a function in Excel, you must make sure that you start with an equal to symbol. All right, that is why I started here with an equal to. Okay, equals to sum, and then you go ahead and select the range you want to sum. Look at that, very straightforward. Close bracket and click enter. So this is the sum of this range. For the average, same approach. Type in your average function and then go ahead and select the range you want to average. Okay, and that will give you average. Now the max function will give you the maximum entry. All right, the highest entry in a range of numbers. Okay, so if you apply the max function on this, it will check through the range and then give you the highest number in there, which is 580. Now the opposite of max function is the minimum function. Okay, so that is min. So min, and then go ahead and select the range. So this will give you the least entry in that range. Okay, it's 200. Now for the count function we check through a given range and then it will count only the numeric entries in that range. Okay, only the numeric entries in that range. Now if you apply the count function here, you have count. All right, and then you go ahead and select this range. You see that it already count the numeric entries. All right, we have 15 entries here, but because 3 of them are text values, so the count function will not consider them. Okay, it will count the numeric entries you have in here. All right, and then we also have a count odd. So difference between the count function and the count odd function is that count odd, go ahead and count everything in that range, including the numeric entries and the text entries. All right, so if you do that here and you apply your count odd function here and you go ahead and select this, watch what you get. You close bracket and get 15 because there are 15 entries there, including the text values and the numeric values. Okay, hope you got that. And then for the length function, we simply use the length function majorly on text entries. Okay, on text values. Okay, so we use it to get the length of the text. Look at this now, the length of this text. So click enter. That means there are 7 the length of January, not the number of days. The length of this text is 7. It contains 7 alphabet like J, okay, A, N, like that. We have 7 of them. So you can drag this down and then it will automatically fill it up for you. Okay, you can see that. Good. Now the next one I want to show you guys here is what the if function. So from the name, the if function in Excel is a conditional function. Even the word if, all right, in real life, if you're using the word if, that means there's a condition. If you do this, then this. If this condition is met, then this. Okay, so the if function is a conditional function in Excel. All right, now how do we use it? It is important to know how to use this function, and then especially how to use it when it comes to the nested ifs. Okay, now I'll show you guys how to do that. All right, now if you look at this here, this is a pass mark. All right, and then we have scores here, and then the status, whether the candidate passed or not. Okay, so let's see how to do that. All right, we want to add in the status here, compare this to this, and see if they passed or not. So you go ahead and use your equals to if function. If, now what is the logical test? The test is check if this score, all right, is greater or equal to, okay, because before you can say a candidate passed, he must have scored from 80 above. Okay, so the score must be what? Greater or equal to 80. So if the score is greater or equal to 80, now for this 80, I'm going to log this cell up. I'm logging it up because I don't want the cell to move, and I also don't want the column to move. Okay, this is what we call cell referencing. Okay, I'll record a separate video for that on cell referencing, then you can get to know more about it. Okay, so then comma, so if this score is greater or equal to 80, I want Excel to return passed. That means the candidate passed. Else, that means if this condition is not true, that is, if this score is not greater or equal to 80, what do you want Excel to return? Okay, it should return failed. Okay, or you can enter whatever you want to enter. Okay, and you click enter. As you can see, this candidate passed, this one passed, this one did not pass, this one passed, did not pass, pass. Okay, then did not pass. Okay, that is how you can use the if function in Excel. Now when it's come to, let me take this off. Now when it's come to using the nested if, okay, the nested if, how do we go about using the nested if? Now the if function that we did here is just a single condition. If this is more than this, then this, else this. Okay, but here we have more than one condition. So we have the course code, the score of the candidate, the unit of the course, the weighted average, okay, the weighted grade points, and then the point itself. Like, okay, now we want to compare the scores of these candidates, okay, and then compare it to this. All right, so if the score is from 70 above, that is 7 points. If the score is in between 65 and 69, that is 6 points. If the score is between 60 and 65, that is 5 points. If the score is between 55 and 59, that is 4 points. Now, how do we go about that? That is where you must know, that is when you must know how to use the nested if. Okay, now how do you go about that? Just come here, equal to if. Okay, now the logical test is to check if the score, so I'm starting from here, from this first condition. If this score is greater or equal to 70, comma, right, then the value, if this condition is true, that is a 7 point. So I'll type in 7. It doesn't have to be a string because it's a number. Okay, so the value is true. If this condition is true, it should be 7. All right, and comma, if the value is false, all right, so if this condition is false, that means if the score does not fall in this category, then I move down to this category to check if the score falls in that category. So I'm going to use another if again. The score is greater or equal to 65. Okay, sorry, 65. So I'm going to use 65 here because from 70 upward has been covered by this first condition. So 65 to 69 will be covered by this second condition. Okay, so if this is true, that is 5 point here, no 6 point, sorry, 6 point. If it's not true, then we go ahead and use another if again to check if the score is falling in this range, okay, in this, yeah, in this class, okay. If score is greater or equal to 60, okay, so this will cover from 60 to 64, okay, this should be 60 to 64, since 65 has been covered there, so there's an error there, okay. So if the score is greater or equal to 60, comma, that will be a 5 point, okay, 5 point, then comma. So if the score is not in this range, then I come down to this condition to check if the score is falling in this range, okay. That means I have to use another if again. If this score, okay, is greater or equal to 55 now, right? 55, comma, okay, and that will be what now? 4 points here, 4 points, that's 4 points, okay, comma, and else, okay, if the score is not in this range, then I have to move down. I have to move down here to check if the score is greater or equal to what now? 50, right? 50, and that will be what point? How many points? 30 points. Is that 30 points? If the score is not here, then I come here to check if, okay, the score is in this range, greater or equal to what? 45. That's 45, okay, 45. That would be 2 points. 2 points, and then comma, if the score is greater or equal to 40 now, 40, okay, that should be a 1 point. Else, since there's no other condition, there's only one condition left, so I can put it here. So if all of these are false, then that's a 0 point, okay. Now then you start closing up the bracket, close the bracket. This bracket, you can see that it's green, that is the closing of this if function. This red one is the closing of this if function. Close again. This is the closing of this if function. This is the closing of this if function, okay. This closes up this if function. This closes up this if function, and then lastly this closes up the first if function here, okay. Then can you see that this score is falling in this range? In this range, because it is 64. That's a 5 point. This score is above 77 points. Hope you got the point. So that is it. That's how you can use nested ifs in Excel, okay. Very straightforward. All right. The next thing I want to show you guys is how to use the sum if and the count if, okay. Now for the count if, from the name of the function, how do you know what it does? Now let's suppose, for example, you have a group of people in a room, okay, and then you are asked to count those that are from Nigeria, okay, those that are from Nigeria. So that means if you get into that room, you only count those that satisfy the condition of being Nigerian, okay. And in that case, there's only one criteria, and that criteria is that what? They should be Nigerians, okay. But if you have to check those that are from Africa and then also from Nigeria, that means that they're not two criteria. Okay. I don't know the English for now. Okay, so you check those that satisfies the two conditions of being African and being Nigerians. Okay, so you count only them. Okay, but for some, instead of counting, you sum up. Okay, so let's see how to use that in Excel. Okay, now the situation is that says your manager approached you, okay, to give quick answers to the following using sum if and count if, okay, and then you are asked to find the total sales for ice cream and tasty treat. So you can actually solve these questions using Excel pivot tables. Very straightforward with pivot tables, but just in case, let's say for example you had to do an interview and then you have to use the sum if, the count if to solve this kind of problems. So that is why you must know how to use them, okay. So the count if now, so let's start with this one. Since it says find the total, that means you are summing. Okay, so sum the sales if the product sold is ice cream. Okay, so let's start with that. So in Excel, there are two functions here, sum ifs. The first one is sum if. Let me zoom in so you can see better. All right, yeah, this is better. Okay, so the first function here is sum if. All right, and the second one is sum ifs. So for this sum if, you can use it when you have just one criteria. Like I said before, probably you have just one criteria of being Nigerian. Okay, but if you have more than one criteria, then you can use your sum ifs. So sum ifs can do what the sum if can do. So for me, I majorly use this sum ifs because if you have just one criteria, then you just provide just one. You provide just one criteria here. So sum ifs can do what sum if can do. Okay. Now this is asking for the sum range. Asking that what range do you want to sum? The question says what, find the total sales for ice cream. Okay, that means you want to sum this range, sum, okay, the sales. So select that. That's the range we want to sum. And the criteria range, the criteria is that the product should be ice cream. Now, in what range is ice cream falling? Ice cream is in this range. So I'll select this range. Okay, then comma, what is the criteria? Okay, so in this criteria range, what is the criteria? The criteria is that what? It should not be tasty treats, it's not popsicles, it's not frozen yogurt, it is ice cream. Okay, so the criteria is what? Ice, you type in, make sure that it's a string since you are typing it as a text. Okay, ice cream, you close the bracket. You can see that this is the total sales made from ice cream, from the sales of ice cream. Okay, now for the sales of tasty treat, now the same process. All right, because some ifs, all right, but this time around the sum range is still sales. Okay, because you're finding the total sales. The criteria range is here, all right, comma, and then the criteria is that what it should be tasty treat. Okay, tasty treat. Okay, you go ahead and close bracket. You can see that. So this is the total sales made from the sales of what, tasty treat. Okay, now the next question says that you should find the amount of profit generated by Watson in the central region. Now watch very carefully. There are two criteria here, two conditions. Okay, find the amount of profit. Okay, so we want the sum of the profits that was made by Watson. So the salesperson that we are talking about is what? Watson. Okay, and the region being considered is the central region. So, okay, so the sales Watson made in the central region. Now how do we go about that? We still go ahead and use our sum if function. Okay, sum ifs. All right, now the sum if now sorry, the sum range. Okay, the sum range is where we are summing. Now it's profit because it said profit generated. Okay, profit, comma. Now the criteria range 1, find this profit generated by Watson in the central region. So the criteria range 1 is salesperson. Okay, and the criteria there is that what, the salesperson should be Watson. Okay, comma. The criteria range 2 is here. You are checking under the regions. Okay, but the region should be what? Central. Do you get that now? Central. And you close bracket and enter. So this is the total profit generated by Watson in the central region. I hope that is clear. Now for the next two questions, now we are going to be using Countif because the question says how many. It didn't say find the total or find the sums or something like that. It says, the question says what? How many? So we are counting. So how many orders were received for ice cream? How many orders were received for ice cream? So same process. This time around, you're going to use the count ifs. So for the count if and the count if, it's the same thing, just that count ifs can accept more than one criteria. Okay, So for me, I will always use this because this can do what this can do, okay, but this cannot do what this can do. This can take more than one criteria. All right, so count ifs. I'll go the second one. Now a criteria range, you can see that this is not asking for some range because you are not summing anything, so it is asking for what? The criteria range first. All right, so the count ifs now, okay, the question says that you find the number of orders that were received for ice cream. All right, so I'm going to come here. This is the criteria range because ice cream is under this column. All right, then the criteria is that what it should be ice cream. Can you see that? Ice cream. All right, now close bracket and click on enter. So can you see that the number of orders that were received for ice cream is 8. This order here is for ice cream. The order is for ice cream. This one is for ice cream too. Can you see that this is for ice cream? This is also for ice cream. This order is also for ice cream. This is also for ice cream. So there are 8 of them. Okay. Now the next question says that how many orders were received from the central region in the year 2013? How many orders were received in the central region in the year 2013? How do we go about that? First, understand the question. All right. In this case now, I'm having 2 criteria ranges. All right, the region and then the year. Okay, the region and then the year. Okay, so we want to know the number of orders we got from the central region in the year 2013. All of the year here is actually 2013. So let me change some of them to, let's say, 2015. Let's change some of them to 2015. Okay, some to 2014, so that it will be like everything is 2013. Okay, so data is just a demo data just to explain the concept. All right, so we want to know the number of orders that were received from the central region in the year 2013. So now go ahead and use your count ifs. Okay, for me I like to use count ifs because same thing. Now the criteria range 1. The criteria range 1. All right, the question says that what? How many orders were received from the central region? Okay, so I'm going to start from the region column. Okay, this is the criteria range 1, and the criteria there is that it should be central region. All right, central, and then criteria range 2 in the year 2013. So that is here. Okay, and then the year should be 2013. Close bracket, and that's, so we got 7 orders from the central region in the year 2013. So guys, that is basically how you can use the sum if function and then the count if function. Okay, now let's go ahead and here the trim function is very easy to use. Now if you have a lot of spaces in between text, you see that the spaces here are too much. There should be just a single space, or we have space here is too much. Okay, so to take that off, we are going to use the trim function. Okay, trim function, then give it the text, close the bracket, and you can see that the excess spaces are being removed. So that is basically what the trim function does. So you can use this kind of function when you are doing data cleaning. Okay, can you see that? Very straightforward. Then we can zoom in. So we also have the concatenate function here, the concatenate function. Now how do we use the concatenate function? So from the name concatenate, that means you are joining things together, right? Now for that, so just use your concat equals to concat to the first one. What is the first text? This one. All right, comma. Now the second text, if you give this and you close brackets, click enter, you can see what we have. We have jump it, bush kit, without spaces in between them. That is because the first text you gave was this and second text you gave was this, so there's nothing in between them. Now but if you, however, if you do it like this, the first text is the first name, right? Our second text is space, so I'm going to add space. I want space to be the second text 2, and comma, the third text should not be the last name, then close bracket, and you see enter. See what you have now. So you've concatenated the first name and the last name correctly. All right. Now, for this date function, we have a lot of date functions in Excel. So I'm just going to record a separate video, right, explaining date functions in Excel. All right. But you want to type a date in Excel, okay? Let's say you want to type a date. Don't just do something like 07/03/2023. Don't do this. It's see, it might be seen as date, but sometimes it doesn't work like that. All right. So the best thing to do is just use your date function, okay? Equals to date, okay, and then this will ask for the year 2023. All right, the month March, so, and then the day 8, and then you close bracket. So automatically again knows that what this is a date. So when you start applying date functions on this date, there will be no room for error, okay? You won't be getting errors, okay? So it's best you do this when you want to enter a date into a cell. Do you get that? So I'll record a separate video explaining date functions in Excel. So there are a lot of them. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, all right, so that when I drop the video, you will be notified, okay? So now we also have the drop down list feature of Excel. Now, why do we need to use drop down list? Most times, if you look at this, we have courses which are Excel, Word, PowerPoint, designing, marketing, and so on. All right. Now, let's suppose you are doing a data entry job, okay, and then each time you get to the courses column, you have to type in the course, whether it's Excel or Word or PowerPoint. Now, we are human beings, okay? You can get to a point where you type in Excel as this. It's still Excel, but it is capital E at the beginning, so there's no consistency here, okay? And you can even make the mistake of typing Excel like this, but with a space in front. These are three different things. When you start doing the analysis of this data, this three will appear as three different things, but they actually mean the same thing. Okay, so to avoid this kind of errors, that is why we use drop down list. So it's actually called data validation. So how do we do that? Let's suppose you want the drop down to be here, okay? So you click on the cell, or it can even be a range, okay? Maybe not just a single cell, but it can be a range. So just go ahead and select the whole range, okay? So for here, I'm just going to use this single cell to explain. So you click where you want the drop down to be, then come here to the data tab, then you go ahead and click on data validation. All right, data validation. Data validation. So right now this cell can accept any value, but for me, I'll change it to what, a list, okay? And then I'll include a drop down in cell drop down, okay? And then do you want to ignore blank in case there's no entry there? Do you want to ignore it? So if you are doing data entry, I think it is better you don't ignore, okay? So that you avoid having null values in your data, okay? And then if you ask for the source, you can either type them in by yourself by typing Excel, Word, but for me, I won't do that. I'll just click on that arrow, then I'll select the courses like this. Click back on this arrow, then I'll click OK. Okay, see what you have now. When you come here, you can see that there's now a drop down here. Just go ahead and click on that drop down, then select the course. Very straightforward, okay? Can you see that? So makes your work easier. All right, good. So this will save you time of typing and also save you time of errors, okay? I hope you get the point. Now The next one that we have here is the lookup functions. Now, like I said, these lookup functions are so important. Okay, most times if you are applying for an Excel role or a job where you have to use Excel, they will ask you that they have to ensure that you know how to use lookup functions. Okay, so here I really explain just these two, but I will not go in depth. So I'll probably record a separate video for that where I will explain how to use Excel lookup functions using bigger data set and more real world examples. Okay, so make sure you subscribe to the channel. All right, so that will be uploaded anytime from now. Okay, so if you look at what we have here, we have this small data set. Let me zoom in. Now we have this small data set here, right? And then it says, as the data analyst, the sales manager has asked you to quickly provide the information required below. So they want to know the location of the employee with ID 1290, and then they want to know the hire date for the employee with ID 1284. Okay, now if your data is very large, so if your data is very large, you can't come here and searching for the ID and then trying to track the location. You use the lookup functions. Okay, the lookup functions. So just go ahead and use your VLOOKUP. All right, now the lookup value is what you have, the small piece of information you have about the employee, which is his ID. So this is the lookup value. Then the table array is where you are checking. That is, I'm checking here, I'm checking all of this area, comma. What is the column index number? You are looking for what? The location. So what column of the table is location? You can say that this is column 1, column 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so location is on what? On column 7. Now when I record future videos, I will show you guys what you can do, so you don't have to be counting the columns by yourself, because if your data is so large, you cannot be counting the columns by yourself. That will take your time. It will stress you. So I'll show you guys how to do this without having to count all of this, without having to count the column numbers by yourself. Okay, so then comma. Now the range lookup, just select false. You can just type in 0, okay, or false, or you just select false. So it's still the same thing. Then click enter. As you can see that the employee with ID 1290, this is him here, is in building 2. Okay, that is location, building 2. Now the employee with ID 1284, we want to know his hire date. Okay, this is the table array. All right, now the column index number, this is column 8. Okay, column 8. Like I said, I will show you guys how to do this without having to count in the future videos. Okay, so make sure you subscribe. And then the range lookup, I'll just select false, then I'll close bracket, and that is it. So you can see that the employee having ID 1284, what is he? It's over here. It's hire date is this date, and that is it. So you don't need to stress yourself, no matter how big the data set is. Okay, good. And then the next one is the match function. Now the match function will tell you will let you know the row number or column number. All right, so in future videos I'll show you guys how to use these two together. Okay, good. Now I've labeled this so that we can easily track the row numbers. You can see that Smith here is in row 1, this is in row 2, this is in row 3. Now suppose you want to know the row number of Kane. Okay, so just go ahead and use a match function. Match, what is the lookup value? Is Kane. So you just type in Kane. Kane is the lookup value. What is the lookup array? This is where I'm checking. Okay, then the match function, just go ahead and select exact match. Okay, close bracket. Now you can see that K is what is in the 4th row. Okay, 4th row here. I'm not talking about this one, I'm talking about here, 4th row. This 1st row, 2nd row, 3rd row, 4th row. Okay, so for column 2 you can do the same thing. So match, let's suppose we want to know the column where Nancy, okay, is. Just click on it. That's the lookup value. The lookup array is here. This is where we are checking. Okay, then comma the comma, then exact match. Okay, so exact match, you can either type in 0 or you select exact match, so it's the same thing. Okay, close bracket and you click enter. So you can see that Nancy is in the 8th column. Okay, so guys, that is it for this video. I'll show you guys how to use the match function, the VLOOKUP function, the date function, the Excel drop-down list feature, the concatenate, trim. I'll show you how to use the sum if, count if, the if function, the nested ifs. Okay, and then we also learned how to use these functions that are over here. So make sure you give the video a like. If you don't understand anything, drop it in the comment section. Okay, and subscribe to the channels, because I'm going to upload more videos on how to use these functions in solving real world problems. Okay, so make sure you subscribe to the channel, okay, so that you get to see the videos when they are uploaded. Okay.